The Yankees are world champions.
5 World Series in a row for Casey Stengel and his American League whiz-bangs. They made baseball history. What a team.
It was our religion. It wasn't a game, it was our religion. We lived and died being a Yankee. The Yankees represented the pinnacle of sports.
People root for the underdog, but they really love a winner. The Yankees are baseball's winners.
The long and glorious story of the New York Yankees is one that has taken over 100 years to unfold. It's a team that built greatness upon greatness, generation after generation, until just the name of the team, the Yankees, came to define all the glory of sports in America.
Together, they have achieved more in a few years than others have in a century. It seems as if they just have to put on the uniform to be transformed from stars to heroes.
The Giambino, his proudest moment as a Yankee.
Attempts to describe what they've done often fall short. The only word necessary is Yankees, for it's a word that has come to represent a level of performance that stands at the very top of the game and a determination to be nothing short of the best. Today, that standard of excellence and the name of the team it embodies are synonymous. There is no greater, more successful team in any sport, and the place they call home is a shrine to everything they represent.
Tradition and pride and excellence, and that's what we're all about.
When you look at their first 20 years, it's an extraordinary contrast to what the Yankees are today. I mean, the Yankees have won 26 World Championships, 26 in exactly 100 years. But they've done more than that. They've won 26 in 80 years.
The Yankees were actually born as the Baltimore Orioles. In 1903, a pair of New Yorkers named Big Bill Devery and Frank Farrell paid $18,000 for the team and moved it to some undeveloped land in Manhattan.
The franchise had been moved from Baltimore, and they were obviously looking for a place to live, and they built this wooden grandstand in Upper Manhattan where the hospital, Columbia Presbyterian, stands now.
There is, in fact, now a monument at the hospital where the Yankees took their first faltering steps. Playing at Hilltop Park, high above the city, they called themselves the Highlanders. Their greatest player was a pitcher named Jack Chesbro. In 1904, Happy Jack threw 455 innings in 51 starts, completing 48 and winning a modern-day record 41 games, all for a salary of just $1,500.
He worked a bit of overtime that year. He won the 41 games, and he's remembered for one errant throw.
It happened on the season's final day, when Chesbro threw a ninth-inning wild pitch, costing the Highlanders the pennant and plunging them into a decade of mediocrity.
The thing with the early Yankees is that basically these two characters, Devery and Farrell, owned them for 12 years. They went through a manager a year, practically. These were not baseball men. They couldn't hold on to good baseball players or managers.
In 1912, the Highlanders added pinstripes to their uniform, soon became tenants of the New York Giants' famous Polo Grounds, and changed their name to what was then a northern colloquialism.
As early as 1904, a New York newspaper had as a headline, "Yankees Return North." And this was a report about the Yankees making a swing through the South as part of their exhibition schedule. And they were referred to generically as Yankees, Northerners. They were called the Yankees on opening day in the newspaper headline and in a couple of times in the story. But it went back and forth for several years. And about the time they moved to the Polo Grounds, the name became officially the Yankees. Highlanders was associated with the old team and a franchise that was not particularly distinctive.
But with attendance at barely $300,000 a year, the Yankees remained a second-class team. Finally, after the 1914 season, the Yankees were sold to a partnership led by Jacob Ruppert.
The first
10 or so years of the history of the New York Yankees is not a history of glory. The glory really begins when Rupert buys the team.
But Rupert was no fool. For $450,000, we got an orphan ball club without a home, he said. One without players of outstanding ability and without prestige.
He was a good businessman, and he had a lot of money. And he really wanted to get into baseball to promote his brewery, his beer business.
Convinced that a great baseball team could further enhance his family name, Colonel Rupert had previously tried and failed to buy John McGraw's Giants, so the Yankees would have to do. His new team would become Rupert's life work, and over the next 25 years he would turn a second-rate ball club into the most prestigious franchise in the history of sports. Ironically, the first golden era in Yankees history began in Boston in 1918. The Yankees were struggling to be a .500 team, while the Red Sox were winning a world title, led by a pitcher who also liked to play the outfield on the days he didn't start. His name, Babe Ruth.
He was an outstanding pitcher. He was arguably the best left-hander in the league. He was among the league leaders in shutouts, among the league leaders in opponents' batting average as pitcher, among the league leaders in strikeouts. And he led the league in home runs. Same guy.
In 1919, Red Sox manager Ed Barrow told Ruth he'd help the team more if he played the outfield every day. Babe was more than happy to comply. That season, Ruth set a new Major League record with 29 home runs. And that offseason, Red Sox owner Harry Frazee made the most curious roster move in baseball history.
The Red Sox owner invested in Broadway shows, and the story goes that he needed the money to keep his show going. So he sold the Babe. And when it happened, I'm sure the Boston fans weren't happy about it. But no one could have guessed that Babe Ruth would become Babe Ruth.
Babe never disappointed. He dominated the game like no one ever will dominate the game. He hit more home runs in 1920 and 21 than any other team.
During Ruth's first season in New York, the Yankees set a major league record by drawing more than 1 million fans to the Polo Grounds, something the Giants had never done.
He hit slashing line drives, but my memory of him is that he hit lofty home runs with this beautiful, graceful swing. Went up in the air, and you could watch them and watch them and watch them and cheer. It was exciting watching him play.
Despite the fact that McGraw's Giants beat the Yankees in the World Series in 1921 and 22, the Babe was the biggest star and draw in the game. McGraw resented him to no end.
McGraw never liked it. He was very possessive about his Giants, his park, his Polo Grounds, his part of town. He didn't want to be sharing his park and losing the attendance battle, the popularity to these junior circuit upstarts.
The Yankees doubled their attendance in 1920. The Giants decided it was time for the Yankees to go somewhere else. As John McGraw reportedly said, they should go to the Bronx, and there they will wither on the vine.
So Rupert bought land right across the river from the Polo Grounds and built a home that would accommodate the ever-increasing number of fans anxious for the chance to see Babe Ruth. Yankee Stadium opened in 1923. It was the house that Ruth built.
This flamboyant character that he was told a friend, "Lord, I hope I hit a home run on opening day," and of course he did.
And that year, the Yankees won their first World Series, finally defeating McGraw's Giants. Ruth had helped usher in the first era of Yankees glory. But he was not the only Boston transplant to help give birth to the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry.
In terms of building a ball club on the field, the key moment in the history of the Yankees is when they hired Ed Barrow away from the Red Sox to be the Yankees general manager. From there, the modern construction of the Yankees began.
Ed Barrow is still the last man to manage a Red Sox World Series winner. In his first 3 years as GM in New York, the Yankees won the pennant each year. Boston wouldn't win another for more than a generation.
The fact is that within 3 years, nearly half the Yankee team were former Red Sox. Barrow had simply raided the team, bought it retail and wholesale, and moved it to New York.
Future Hall of Fame pitchers Wade Hoyt and Herb Pennock headed the list of Yankee greats who had followed the Babe from Boston to New York and helped make the team champions. In 1925, homegrown first baseman Lou Gehrig began to play full-time. He would put up numbers surpassed only by Ruth, and they became the most famous and most feared 1-2 punch in history.
Ruth hit third, Gehrig hit fourth. That was a bad crew to face.
In addition to Ruth and Gehrig, Bob Musial, Earl Coombs, and Tony Lazzari gave the Yankees a lineup known as Murderers Row. In 1927, they won 110 games and lost just 44. Ruth was paid $70,000 for his most famous season when he hit an unprecedented 60 home runs. Gehrig, the league's MVP with 47 homers and 175 RBIs, earned $8,000. The World Series was a foregone conclusion.
Perhaps the most remarkable moment in the 1920s for the Yankees was probably a batting practice before the first game of the 1927 series.
And they came into Forbes Field and they were hitting the ball on top of the right field bleachers. It put the fear into a lot of people just seeing those guys in batting practice and doing things that nobody else had ever done.
The Pirates knew that they had lost the World Series before it had even begun.
The Yankees won in a sweep, a feat they repeated in 1928. The first golden era in Yankees history was in full swing.
Ruth, is your contract called for $80,000 for 2 years. That's to be agreed upon. Will you finally sign it?
Yes, sir, Colonel.
The year 1929 began as the Roaring Twenties and ended with the Great Depression. As for the Yankees, hopes for a dynasty vanished with the loss of manager Miller Huggins.
Huggins inspired excellence. Huggins led the Yankees to all of their early pennants and championships. He managed them from 1918 until he died in 1929. The first of what eventually became 3 monuments in center field in the old Yankee Stadium was dedicated to Miller Huggins.
The Yankees turned to Joe McCarthy, a straight-laced baseball man who many doubted could coexist with a fun-loving Babe.
Joe McCarthy was a very serious guy, and he was serious about winning. He wanted his ball players to wear coats and ties. He didn't want them to gamble on the train. He didn't want anybody drinking beer because he thought it caused you to lose your edge.
John Trebinger, an old New York Times sports writer, said Babe Ruth was the most uninhibited man I ever met. He just did things.
Someone was asking me about how I was going to get along with Joe McCarthy. Well, Joe and I think, going to get along very nicely. Joe's a very nice boy, and I think he and I are going to get together. And as far as the ball club is concerned, I think our ball club is in very good shape.
To his credit, McCarthy made it clear that his personal feelings about the Babe's private life wouldn't affect the Yankees on the field.
Babe, I wish you one of the biggest years you ever had in your life. In fact, the biggest year.
Same to you, Joe.
And Lou, I hope that it winds up that we bring that championship back to where it belongs, in New York again.
Babe and Lou did reclaim the title in 1932, the third and last they would share as teammates. In '34, Gehrig surpassed Ruth's home run total for the first time, and at season's end, Babe was sent to the Boston Braves to close out his career. Meanwhile, Gehrig was named the 5th team captain in Yankees history, and he continued to put up numbers that could only be described as well Ruthian. Besides Gehrig, Ruth also left behind other future Hall of Famers, like Red Ruffing, Lefty Gomez, Bill Dickey. Still, the Yankees went 3 years in a row without a pennant. Then in 1936, Barrow brought in a man who would take what was already a great franchise and elevate it to the realm of greatest.
If you look at the all-time standings of baseball teams at the end of the 1935 season, and gauge teams in terms of how many championships they've won, the Yankees would have been on an all-time list 4th. Then Joe DiMaggio arrives. And by the time he's been there 4 years, they are firmly established as first on that list, and they're beginning to run away from the pack.
I first joined the club in 1936, and it gave them a good, real shot in the arm because they felt, well, here I got a chance to be in a pennant and possibly a World Series playing for the greatest city in the world, New York City.
DiMaggio is a star in three very, very important ways. He can run like the devil, he can throw, and he can bat. And he's just a kid.
In Joltin' Joe's first 3 years, the Yankees became the first team ever to win 3 world championships in a row. It was also in 1938 that Lou Gehrig played in his 2000th straight game.
Lou, I want to congratulate you on your wonderful career in playing 2,000 games without missing a game. And I hope I'm around here when you play your next 2,000.
Thank you very much.
You've done a wonderful job, and you should be congratulated, and I'm sure that you're going to continue for a long time to come.
Thank you, Joe.
No one knew in '38 that Gehrig was suffering from the early stages of the mysterious disease that would soon take his life. At first, only Yankees management seemed to notice that Lou's performance was slipping, so much so that in 1938, Barrow cut Gehrig's salary by $3,000.
In 1939, we played him the first part of the season, and he just wasn't sharp. He's just not Lou Gehrig.
After meeting with McCarthy, Lou decided to finally sit down for the good of the team. And so on May 2nd in Detroit, Gehrig took a lineup card to home plate that did not bear his name. After 2,130 straight games, the incredible streak was over. His replacement that day, Babe Dahlgren, hit a double and a home run. Gehrig never once left the bench.
The 7th inning, I went to him. I said, Lou, you got to get in the ball game. Keep that streak going. He just said, no, you're doing fine, Babe. Just go on, get out there. And that was it, and the streak was broken.
On July 4th, 1939, the Yankees held Lou Gehrig Appreciation Day, featuring a reunion of the great Murderers Row team of 1927. Lou's number 4 became the first number retired in baseball history. And Gehrig, his disease by then diagnosed and made known to the public, spoke the most famous words the game has ever known.
Actually, it was a dead man talking. He knew he was going to die. And to go and face all of these people in that stadium and stumble out there took a lot of guts. But he had a lot of guts.
For the past 2 weeks, you've been reading about a bad brag. Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Lou never played again, but continued to dress for every game, silently watching his teammates win their 4th straight world championship. Less than 2 years later, at the age of just 37, Lou Gehrig died. One year prior to Gehrig's death in 1938, Joe DiMaggio was not in uniform for opening day. He was home in San Francisco because of a salary dispute. GM Ed Barrow had offered his star $25,000. DiMaggio was holding out for $40,000.
If and when I get my raise this year, I'll have a lot more spaghetti.
3 days after the season opener, DiMaggio accepted all of Barrow's terms. To add insult to injury, Barrow also fined his superstar nearly $2,000 for missing spring training.
I'll be out there doing my best. I know I missed the first few days, but it won't take me long. But I'll be out there having my best year.
Barrow left little doubt who was running the ball club. But on the field, no one could deny that the New York Yankees were Joe DiMaggio's team.
When you got to the Yankee Stadium and you saw Joe in that Yankee uniform, you said, well, by gosh, I'm here. You know you arrived.
Yes, the Yankees took their lead from Joltin' Joe, but DiMaggio paid credit to still another Joe for establishing the Yankee way throughout his team's early championship years.
When we went on to win a pennant or two, it was Joe McCarthy who always held a meeting and said, when you walk out of that field, he says, you walk out, he says, with your chin high. He says, you're world champions, he says, and make the other team and the other people, all the people in the stands know that you're champions. And that's the way we carried on.
1941, the Yankee Clipper achieved one of the greatest individual feats in baseball history when he incredibly hit safely in 56 consecutive games. During the streak, he rallied the Yankees to another championship.
When DiMaggio started hitting, he picked the whole ball club up. You know, we did a lot of winning when he was hitting, but we did it with the whole team picking up.
They moved from the second division to well in first place by the time the streak was over. Not only that, but inside their streak, they set the Major League Baseball record for consecutive games in which at least one member of the team hit a home run, 25 ball games.
If you weren't intense, you couldn't play for the Yankees. I mean, it was an intense team. It was no joke when you went out there. You went out there and you played full blast, and Joe, of course, he set the example.
Pressure didn't mean anything to him. Pressure meant he's going to dig in more. That's the type of guy he was. He's the toughest son of a gun you ever saw.
He had bad legs. He had severe injuries. He'd play through those injuries to the extent that he could until he was almost incapacitated.
During his 13 years in Pinstripes, DiMaggio would lead the Yankees to 10 pennants and 9 world championships. But 1947 was the first full season DiMaggio had ever played without manager Joe McCarthy, with Bucky Harris now in charge. DiMaggio still went about his business according to McCarthy's strict Yankee way, stoically and without fanfare. But in the 47 World Series, with a chance to put the Yankees on top and clinch the title, DiMaggio let his feelings show.
DiMaggio smashes a long drive into deep left field. John Friedel, after a desperate twisting run to the 415-foot marker, makes the sensational gloved hand catch of DiMaggio's terrific wallop.
You always remember the one where he hit a ball against the Brooklyn Dodgers at Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium, and Gianfrido jumped up and lost his hat, and you see DiMaggio kicking at the dirt.
The Brooklyn Dodgers got the better of the Yankees in one of the most famous moments in series history. But in Game 7, one of the first pure relief pitchers in the game, Joe Page, threw 5 innings of one-hit shutout relief, and the Yankees became world champions once again.
And the New York Yankees closed the victory book with a 5-2 win over the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Brooklyn outfit was tough. They played right down to the wire. I never figured it would go 7 ball games. I actually thought it would go at least 5. I'm tickled to death, however, that it did go to 7, and we did win it.
1947 was another stellar season in the illustrious career of Joe DiMaggio. He won his 6th world title and 3rd MVP award, narrowly edging out Red Sox superstar Ted Williams. The choice was a surprise to many, for Williams won the league's Triple Crown Award.
I always felt that to some degree it wasn't fair, but I have to say this, that I only lost out by 1 point, and I lost out to the greatest player I ever saw, Joe DiMaggio.
Of course, this wasn't the first instance of MVP controversy between these two friendly rivals. Joe first edged out Ted for the honor in 1941, the year DiMaggio hit in 56 straight, and Ted hit 406 for the year. Their parallel paths continued when both served their country in World War II. Joe enlisted in the Army in 1943. He was not part of the Yankee Championship Club that season and missed the next 2 years too. Ted served in the Air Force, where he also sacrificed 3 of his prime big league years. 2 valiant efforts that drew praise from another American hero.
I want to say from the bottom of my heart, and from the hearts of every American, I want to say God bless you great men and women over there, and God bless the ones that are going over. And if we fight as half as hard as you're fighting over there, that American flag will fly forever.
The war's conclusion marked a victory for the nation and a homecoming for 2 of the game's premier players. But the transition back to baseball was not smooth for Joe, who struggled through the 46th season.
But I just fell flat in my face. I don't know what happened. I just lost everything.
In Boston, Ted also got off to a rough start, but rebounded to win the 1946 MVP award. That offseason, the names DiMaggio and Williams came up once again in a clandestine meeting between the Yankees team president, Larry MacPhail, and Boston headman, Tom Yawkey.
The story that I have heard is that Larry MacPhail and Tom Yawkey, who were both the people in position to make trades, went out for some drinks one night.
We're drinking late into the night, and I'd like to know what they were drinking.
Scotch, whatever the drink of choice was.
And during the course of the evening and talking baseball and having a few more,
while they were feeling that good, they decided they were going to make a change, DiMaggio for Williams.
You know, Ted Williams, left-handed hitter at Yankee Stadium. DiMaggio, right-handed hitter against the Green Monster. Hey, it made all the sense in the world. I don't care what time of night it was.
And by the end of the evening, I think they had agreed that it was time to test that theory and make that deal.
It was done on cocktail napkins, and wouldn't you love to have those napkins to auction off right now? It would be fabulous. You'd probably do well.
The Yankee Clipper in a Red Sox uniform? The Splendid Splitter, a Bronx Bomber? Blasphemy. A trade that could only be brewed up in a bar. Fortunately, no one signed a paper that night or shook a hand.
And then when they woke up in the morning, or probably the more appropriate term is when they sobered up in the morning, one called the other, said, we can't do this.
Boston fans would have been in revolt, and the Yankees fans would have been the same. It's a good thing they kept it the way it was.
Ted and Joe stayed put, but continued to cross paths. In 1948, DiMaggio amazed those who thought injuries had gotten the best of him and led the league in home runs and RBIs. With the two teams in a heated pennant race, New York traveled to Boston for the season's final weekend. There, Ted led the Red Sox to 2 straight wins and kept the Yankees out of postseason play, even though it was Cleveland who'd win the pennant. New York's manager, Bucky Harris, was promptly fired, and the Yankees replaced him with a man many felt a dubious choice, Casey Stengel.
When he came to the Yankees, most of the experts thought that the Yankees were making a sad mistake in hiring this man to be the manager. They wondered aloud why the Yankees, this wonderful Yankee team, was bringing a clown to manage.
Some predicted the demise of the franchise. No one expected that Casey was about to lead the Yankees into the greatest era of dominance the game has ever known.
Well, I'll tell you, I got a little concerned yesterday in the first 3 innings when I saw that my 3 players that I'd gotten rid of, I said, well, if I lose 9, what am I going to do? And when I had a couple of my players that I thought so great of that didn't do so good up to the 6th inning, I was more confused.
In 1949, most folks were as confused by the Yankees' hiring of Casey Stengel as they were by what he was saying.
It was shock, I think, surprise, bewilderment. Stengel was so much not in the Yankee pattern, and Stengel had the reputation, an unfair reputation, of being nothing but a clown.
Despite the public perception, the Yankees knew that Stengel had shown a knack for winning throughout his playing career, and they suspected his limited success as manager of the talent-challenged Brooklyn Dodgers and Boston Braves was misleading.
Stengel came in to manage a club that was the team in professional sports, and he was considered a sort of a character, and he wasn't. Stengel was one of the most brilliant baseball minds I've ever seen.
Despite a rash of injuries, Casey's Yankees stayed close to Joe McCarthy's Red Sox all year and beat them on the season's final day to win the pennant. Then old reliable Tommy Hendrick lived up to his nickname in Game 1 of the World Series against the Dodgers in the 9th inning of a scoreless game.
Score, Hendrick 1, Dodgers nothing.
Joe Page and Allie Reynolds got both a win and a save as the Yankees took the series in 5. Casey had defied the critics, and the Yankees were champions once again.
Manager Casey Stengel is deliriously happy with his first Major League title.
Winning the World Series over the Dodgers, he now was legitimate. After all those years, he'd made it.
The old professor finally had respect. he also had an abundance of the game's greatest weapon.
The 49 team and the team that went into the 50s under Stengel, they're carried by superior pitching.
Casey's staff included the Springfield rifle Vic Raschi, who won 21 games in 3 consecutive seasons. After teams faced Raschi's speed, Stengel would start junk baller Eddie Lopat. Then, Allie Reynolds, a man of Native American heritage known as Super Chief thanks to his success in big games, and the only Yankees pitcher ever to throw 2 no-hitters in one season. It was quite a staff. Casey used it to change the way the game was played.
Raschi, Reynolds, Lopat merging in with Whitey Ford, and a manager who's inventive in his use of the bullpen. Stengel was really ahead of the curve, going right against left, left against right. When they won in 49, the key was Joe Page. In that season, Joe Page has 27 saves, and he was in 60 ball games. And so you had a team that had very good pitching.
But pitching wasn't the team's only strength.
They had very good fielding. They had depth. Stengel started using the platoon. He had Woodling and Bauer and McDougal and Coleman and all kinds of other players interchangeable.
I want to kill him half the time. If he didn't play me, I want to choke him, all the players did. But he really, when I look back and reflect, in retrospect, this guy was something special.
And about to embark on a special era in Yankees history. On the heels of his first World Championship, Casey Stengel showed no signs of stopping at 1. And in fact, the Yankees were in prime position to win their second straight title in 1950, following an MVP year by their beloved shortstop, the Scooter, Phil Rizzuto.
He hit over 300 that year and played the superb defense. He did everything. When you have a shortstop that can field and hit the way he did that year on a championship team, that's usually the key.
Phil was unquestionably the greatest shortstop in Yankee history until Mr. Jeter has come along. But to have been the greatest in the franchise's history between 1903 and 1996 is pretty good.
Casey and the Scooter did win their second straight World Series, and confidence was now playing a key role in the team's success.
If you didn't feel unbeatable or think you were going to win, you had no sense being in the big leagues. My first 2 years, I made more money in the World Series than I made in my whole salary for the whole year. When you won World Series, you wouldn't have to go to work that winter. You'd be able to relax.
The key thing was to win, because winning is where you made your money. And we were supporting families.
That's how we made our money. We had to get in the World Series to make money. And if we didn't get into the World Series, we were stuck with our salary.
The Yankees returned to the World Series for the 3rd straight time in 1951 and defeated the Giants in 6 games. This would be the last title for Joe DiMaggio and the first for a 19-year-old former shortstop now coming into his own as a big league outfielder.
I know that when I first joined there, I was, like I said, 18 or 19 years old, and I looked up to DiMaggio and Allie Reynolds and Vic Raschi. The guys that I joined, the team that I joined, were like heroes to me.
Mano's legendary heroics was still to come, but the gritty and aggressive style of Mickey's close friend Billy the Kid Martin would make an immediate impact. Also known as Casey's boy, having played for Stengel in the minors, the scrappy Martin consistently came through, especially in the next 2 Octobers.
Martin didn't have the talent that a lot of players had, but of all the players Stengel had, Martin was probably the shrewdest, smartest, most aggressive, most irritating.
Billy Martin was among the most competitive players that ever played the game in temperament and attitude comparable to Ty Cobb. He was someone who sort of transcended his own ability. He played great baseball in the World Series.
Like in the 1952 Fall Classic, when he helped secure the title with a typical take-charge, hustling play.
It's a high pop-up. Who's going to get it? Here comes Billy Martin digging hard, and he makes the catch at the last second. How about that?
Is it any wonder why Casey had such an affinity for the Kid?
He managed to get the big play or the big hit in clutch situations with anybody that ever lived.
Billy did it again in 1953, when his record 12th World Series hit in just a 6-game series helped clinch still another championship for the Yankees. Behind Billy, the Yankees had done something never before accomplished in the history of Major League Baseball. 5 straight World Championships. Incredibly, they showed no indication they would stop at 5.
Sister, where's the Rubel? She's in her room resting up. Good, sit down a minute. Yeah. I want you, son, to sign this. Right there. Sign it. What is it? That's a baseball contract. You're going to get a bonus of $125,000. $125,000? Yeah, boy. That's a lot of money. Sure. Pen. Sign it right there, Hank. Sign it. That's a good boy. Sign. Sign it. He's not signing. Sign.
Gee, Sarge, I don't know.
What's wrong now?
Well, my pappy ain't gonna like it one bit, me playing up north with the Yankees.
Hank, I told you 100 times they're all Southern boys.
Well, I ain't calling you no liar, Sarge, but I sure didn't hear no Southern accents out at that ballpark today.
All right, Hank. Don't take my word for it. The owner himself will be up here. You can ask him. That must be him now. Come in. Well, bless my soul, Hank. This here is Colonel Dan Tompkins. This is Hank Lumpkin.
Well, I'm glad to meet you, Colonel.
Sure enough. Here we have Colonel Philip Calhoun Rizzuto. Sure enough. And coming this way is Colonel Gilbert Beauregard MacDougall.
Hi-oh. Sure enough.
Well, bless my soul, here's Colonel Whitey Stonewall Ford.
I do.
Sure enough. And last but not least from the Deep South, this here's Colonel Yogi Ashley Burra.
What, please make your acquaintance.
Sure enough. Yeah. Colonel Yogi is going to be your catcher. Isn't that right, Yogi?
Sure enough. I like him.
Good.
Yeah, he reminds me of Doberman.
Yeah.
Casey Stengel's Yankees had become as big a hit off the field as they were on it, thanks to a charismatic young nucleus and an unprecedented string of success.
Yes, sir, the Bombers did it again. 5 World Series in a row for Casey Stengel and his American League whiz-bangs. They made baseball history. What a team.
Although the Yankees were considered a young team, they still maintained a veteran presence. And once Joe DiMaggio left the team, the torch of leadership was passed to catcher Yogi Berra, one of the game's most respected players by both his teammates and his peers.
Yogi's greatest asset was deliver under pressure. He was a great clutch hitter. When the hitters needed to win that game, he is more likely to produce it than most other people.
The greatest 7th, 8th, and 9th inning hitter in baseball is Yogi Berra.
Berra became the first American League catcher to be named MVP 3 times, capturing the honor in 51, 54, and 55. But beyond the awards and heroics, there's one thing Yogi remembered best about his team.
We had more fun than anything. Whitey, myself, Mickey, Billy. We had a lot of fun.
If you wanted to go to a movie, you sat in the lobby, and the first guy that came down wanted to go to the movie, you went to the movie with him. It wasn't a question, I don't want to go with that guy or this guy. Anybody was okay, because they were all good guys.
The men who wore the pinstripes during this stretch helped make the Yankees clubhouse a special place. The camaraderie even seemed to revitalize players thought to be past their prime.
Johnny Mize or Johnny Sain, all these old guys used to come to the Yankees at the end of their careers when they weren't really doing that well, and when they come to the Yankees for some reason or other, it just seemed like they did better again.
There was a lot of pride wearing a Yankee uniform. We were not jealous of one another. We played together as a team. I mean, it seemed like everybody we got in trades knew what we had to do. We had to win a pennant. We all benefited by it. The ball players, when they joined us at the end of the season, like Enos Slaughter, we gave him a full share, which the next year in spring training, they busted their fanny to stay and be a Yankee. And that's why the Yankees were successful.
Of course, winning helps breed confidence. But the Yankees won so often in the 50s, even their fans felt invincible.
Under Casey Stengel, that was when I was a boy, we woke up in the morning knowing that the New York Yankees were going to win the pennant.
1949 through 56 was the golden era of baseball in New York. At least one New York team made it to the World Series every year. And there was a Subway Series in 6 out of 8 years.
Playing in that many World Series I played in, it was great. Hey, look how many guys have played and never played in the World Series. That's what you live for. It's exciting every year.
Berra was fast becoming the record holder of World Series games played and championship titles. Meanwhile, one of his teammates was becoming the next great Yankees legend, something his manager had predicted when he first saw him play. Here's what Casey said.
This kid is phenomenal. So he's another Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, all rolled into one. And it just didn't happen. And then in 52, 53, 54, 55, I did pretty good. You know, I had some really good years, but never anything like what Casey had bragged about, you know, and the fans in New York was starting to say, where's this guy that's supposed to be the next Babe Ruth and them, you know? Up until that time, the people still booed me. And then in 1956, I did lead the league in about 5 or 6 different offensive departments, and I really became Mickey Mantle, I guess.
Hitting .353 with 52 homers and 130 RBIs was something only a great player could do, okay? In 1996, guys, you know, who just came up from AAA could do it. In 1956, you had to be Mickey Mantle to do it. It meant something. He was so good, you can't imagine.
Also in 1956, shortstop Gil McDougald replaced future Hall of Famer Phil Rizzuto and became an All-Star himself. McDougald was a classic example of the dependable, versatile role player that Stengel used to stock the team to support his superstars, a formula that year after year ensured his team's success.
Stengel loved to work with young ball players and teach them. In 1951, he established what he called the instructional school. And this was a pre-spring training camp where they brought in the rookies, the minor leaguers, the people that really weren't going to make the club that year, so they could look at them and see them and explain things to them.
With savvy scouts like Paul Critchell feeding him the talent, Stengel constantly tinkered with his roster. And though the lineup would often change, the result remained the same: success. The Yankees were a franchise seemingly run to perfection. And in the 56 series against Brooklyn, perfection was achieved. Don Larson started Game 2, but didn't make it past the second inning of a 13-8 loss. But in Game 5, Stengel gave Larson another chance, and Yogi Berra had a prime view.
That's the best game he ever pitched. He had control. Every pitch I called for, he got it over.
He was behind on one hitter. That was in the first inning, the Pee Wee race. He got 3 balls on him, and that was it.
Larson is ready. Gets the sign. 2 strikes, ball 1. Here comes the pitch. Strike 3. A no-hitter, a perfect game for Don Larson. Listen to this crowd roar. The first World Series no-hitter. A perfect performance by Don Larson.
In Game 7, starting pitcher Johnny Cooks wasn't perfect, but did pitch a 3-hit shutout of his own and was backed by 2 two-run home runs by Yogi Berra. The Yankees, the greatest team in New York's golden era, had captured what would be the final Subway Series of the century.
Robinson misses the 3rd strike. The ball bounces away, but Berra throws him out at first. The Yankees, with this 9-0 crusher, have won their 17th World Series.
Just 6 years beyond the century's halfway mark, a franchise founded as a ragtag group of rejects and with nothing but a rickety old stadium to call home, had established a standard of success unmatched in all of sport. One with an extraordinary legacy of heroes, legends, and championships.
I'm going to put you guys in the championship. Give me 3 years.
Chris Chambliss has won the American League pennant for the New York Yankees.
You just don't get 25 guys that you get along with all of them.
Goodbye. Oh, what a blow!
And world champions for the 2nd year in a row, the New York Yankees.
In 1956, the Yankees finished first for the 7th time in 8 years, and fresh off his Triple Crown season, Mickey Mantle was filling the enormous shoes of Joe DiMaggio quite nicely. No doubt about it, the Yankees were the team of the decade, and Mantle an American icon. Under the tutelage of Casey Stengel, the Yankees were the only team grabbing headlines in the mid-50s, having won 6 pennants and 5 world titles in the first 7 years of the decade. And one Yankees player was emerging from the pack, evolving from hero to legend.
Mantle, 5'11", 195 pounds, never lifted a weight in his life. Any substances he put in his body didn't help him athletically, I can tell you that. This guy just did it on raw physical ability. And there's a certain charm and mystique about that you don't have in baseball anymore. The idea of some kid coming out of the mines of Oklahoma like Mickey Mantle, and they just show up like the natural, you know, carrying literally a cardboard suitcase, wearing an ill-fitting suit, a hayseed, who could hit the ball over buildings and run like a jackrabbit.
He had the physique. He had a V-shaped back on him that was just different. He looked like a tremendous athlete.
He had strength unbelievable. Other guys hit home runs, and you never talked about them. Mickey would hit one, you'd talk about it. That one 480, 485.
Mickey Mantle always was a picture-perfect baseball player for me, batting from both sides of the plate and having the ability to hit the ball 400 or 500 feet from both sides of the plate.
They hit the ball over the moon. He helped them win world championships. He won triple crowns and batting titles and home run titles and was a hero.
This guy touched me, my first hero. He became a very good friend, but he always was an inspiration.
But as Mickey blossomed, he became more than just a baseball player, influencing a generation that even included some future Yankees.
Mickey Mantle was my hero. He was the guy that I really, as a kid, followed. When you play in the backyard, you know, he was the guy that I wanted to be, you know, playing stickball or wiffle ball or whatever it was.
Mickey Mantle was dreams of Yankee Stadium, number 7, pinstripes, transistor radios with earphones in your ear, sneaking a listen of Mel Allen, say Mantle.
Mickey Mantle. This young man's name will be emblazoned high among the stars.
It was just the special part of being a boy for me.
Mickey Mantle, the name was perfect, Mickey Mantle. I mean, that went on the bubblegum card with no problem.
His name, it was magical. Mickey Mantle.
Mickey Mantle. The name Mickey Mantle, it just rings a bell. You know, it's not like a Mel Stottlemyre.
The hat was always molded, the crown on the head. He used to take the crown of our hats and put it in a coffee cup so you could get it, you know, like Mickey Mantle wore his.
Already an idol to legions of fans, Mickey's Triple Crown season in 1956 and still another solid World Series performance took him to a level that transcended the world of sport, one last achieved by a man named Ruth.
The Yankees won the pennant and were in the World Series almost every year, so he was always in the most dramatic games. He was tremendously dynamic. He was the greatest combination of speed and power ever seen in any baseball player to that point in baseball history. That was awe-inspiring.
But despite all the public adulation, it was the respect of his peers the humble Mantle both desired and earned.
I played with him my first year. When I played with him that year, I was in awe. It took me half of a year before I ever had the nerve to go up and ask him to have his picture taken with me. I wanted one. And I think everybody that played with Mickey or saw him had a great respect for him.
The special part of being a baseball player for me was in Kansas City. I was just out of the minor leagues. It was in August. I was running off the field, and I ran across Mickey Mantle, who was playing first base for the Yankees. And he stopped for me to go by, and he said, "No, Reggie, go ahead." He knew my name. And I looked down at his shoes, and it was the number 7, Mantle. It just sent goosebumps up and down my spine.
With his skills that he had on the field, the way that he was able to run, the power that he had, the fact that he was a switch hitter, and so many things, a great outfielder. And above all, he was a tremendous team guy. He was so interested in winning and being a very important part of the team. I think you put all those together and you have someone that you can say, well, he definitely is an icon and he deserved it.
And behind Mantle, the Yankees had every reason to believe the 50s would end as they began. After Mickey Mantle's Triple Crown season, the first Triple Crown won by a Yankees player since Lou Gehrig in 1934, Mantle expected to be paid accordingly. General Manager George Weiss felt otherwise.
First contract I got the next year was for a $5,000 raise. I thought he'd sent the contract to the wrong guy or something. Anyway, I finally got a hold of Mr. Weiss, and I told him that I wanted to double my contract. He says, you know, you're only 25 or 26 years old. How are we going to pay you when you're 30? He said, well, I'm going to tell you something else. He said, if you don't sign this contract, I'm going to trade you to Cleveland for Herb Score and Rocky Colavito.
Frosty, tight-fisted, all-powerful. If you did not accept what he was offering, your option was to go home.
Yankees co-owner Del Webb convinced Weiss to do something he almost never did, give in.
Del Webb finally made George Weiss double my contract that year. Went from $32,500 to $65,000, which was a pretty good leap in those days. The next year I hit $365 and had 35 homers, right at it 100 RBIs. It was a good year. Well, the first contract I got the next year was for a $10,000 cut because I didn't do as good as I did in '56, he said.
Weiss had built the Yankees dynasties as both director of the farm system and general manager. His unrivaled eye for talent was blinded by only one thing: color. During the 8 years after the Dodgers signed Jackie Robinson, Weiss refused to put a black player on the Yankees roster. He finally succumbed to pressure in 1955 and brought up Elston Howard. Primarily a catcher, Howard would become an all-star 9 years in a row.
Elston was a blue-collar worker. You know, he wasn't out for glamour. I mean, when he got behind the plate, a lot of days he would catch doubleheaders, never complained.
In the '58 series, the Yankees sought to avenge their loss to the Braves in the '57 Classic, a trail 3-1. Then Howard, a left fielder at the time, and Cy Young Award winner Bob Turley led an inspired comeback.
Elston Howard makes a spectacular diving catch, and Bruton is doubled at first base.
Howard secured Turley's complete game shutout in Game 5, and then helped rescue the Yankees from elimination in Game 6.
Logan sends a short fly to Howard for the second out, and the outfielder's throw gets Papko at the plate for a double play.
Just one day after pitching a shutout in Game 5, Turley began to throw in the bullpen.
As Stengel calls for Turley to save the game.
And Turley answered Stengel's call by providing some clutch relief.
And this series is all tied up 3-3.
Stengel never wavered in the deciding Game 7, once again calling on Turley, who incredibly got the win with 6 2/3 innings of 2-hit relief.
The game and the series is over when Mantle takes Shane Dean's fly. Turley finishes a superlative job to play a part in each of these 3 Yankee victories in a row.
It was ironic that Turley became the first Yankees pitcher to win the newly created Cy Young Award, and not the staff ace Whitey Ford, perhaps the best pitcher in the league. But Whitey never got the chance to win 20 games in the 50s because of the way Stengel used him.
Casey was not one of the managers that would follow a standard pitching rotation. That's why Whitey Ford never really won 20 games. He used to save Whitey for the big guns. Whitey pitched against all of the big guns, one of the best money pitchers of all time.
He had no fear, no matter what the circumstances of the most important game of the season. Total, complete confidence.
Some members of the press questioned Stengel's handling of Ford, but none could question the manner in which Casey handled the press.
Stengel understood the press better than almost any manager that I've ever heard of.
Casey always gave the press a great deal of time, and you just open up your notebook, ask him one question, and your notebook is filled unless you get writer's cramp before that.
Casey was loquacious, but he spoke a unique language, one that came to be known as Stengelese.
Stengel's famous mangled language originally was purposeful, and it became so much a part of him that he did it automatically. The reasoning behind it was it made you pay attention.
Casey even held court in the United States Senate in 1958 when he testified at the antitrust hearings. It proved to be a Casey classic.
This was his first time before a national audience, other than the baseball audience, and he proceeded to give one of the greatest demonstrations of Stengelese that there ever was.
I was asking you, sir,
why it is that baseball wants this bill passed.
I would say I wouldn't know, but I would say the reason why they'd want it passed is to keep baseball going as the highest baseball sport that has gone into baseball, and from the baseball angle. I'm not going to speak of any other sport. It's been run cleaner than any baseball business that was ever put out in the 100 years at the present time.
And so he went rambling on, and of course they got lost. They got totally lost.
Well, Stengel, I'm not sure that I made my question clear.
Yes. Well, that's all right. I'm not sure I'm going to answer yours perfectly either.
Casey certainly was a character, but he knew just what he was doing.
Why should you be frightened? If you did go into a World Series, the only thing is it's a question of your arm. If their arms are good, I think they'll help our club hold their own in the series.
And with the advent of the 60s, a return to the series was all that mattered. After a third-place finish in 1959, Yankees ownership began to question whether the 70-year-old Stengel was still fit to run the team. But Casey once again silenced the doubters as the Yankees returned to the series in 1960 to face the Pirates. There, Casey set the tone for the most bizarre World Series in Yankees history by not pitching Ford in Game 1.
I was so mad that Casey Stengel didn't start in the first game. For some reason, Casey thought that a left-hander shouldn't be starting in the World Series against Pittsburgh Pirates, pitching back in New York. I finally got to pitch the third and the sixth game. I think we won 10-0 and 14-0.
In the end, the Yankees would outscore Pittsburgh 55-27, led by a series record 12 RBIs from second baseman Bobby Richardson. Still, the series was deadlocked at 3 games apiece.
That seventh game, I said, that's the game I should be pitching.
But Ford had pitched a complete game shutout in Game 6. So in the bottom of the ninth of Game 7, with the score tied at 9, it was Ralph Terry who faced Bill Mazeroski.
And there she goes. It's a long one to left field. That's heading for the wall. And keeps going back. And you can kiss it goodbye. It's a home run for Mazeroski, and the Pirates win 9 to become the new baseball champions of the world.
The only thing going through my mind is we beat them. We beat the great Yankees.
It was a devastating defeat, one that cut through the Yankees' heart and soul.
It was the only time I ever saw Mickey Mantle cry in the dressing room after the game.
After 10 pennants in 12 years, Stengel was fired. Said the old professor, "I'll never make the mistake of being 70 again." George Weiss resigned, and the era of expansion was about to begin, changing the tenor of the game. But the Yankees players who forged the dynasty weren't going anywhere in '61. They still had something to prove. And when longtime Yankees player and coach Ralph Houck replaced Casey as manager, the team showed new life.
Greatest team I ever played with. Mickey and Roger, and we get 240 home runs as a team.
Perhaps the greatest Yankees team ever, one that featured an incredibly balanced attack.
I had guys hitting behind me like Moose and Yogi. Our 3 catchers, Elston and Yogi and Johnny Blanchard, hit 60 home runs that year.
All those big guys hitting home runs, but on the other hand, we had Rich and Kubek and myself in the infield. We had a pretty good infield.
And at the infield, on the '61 Yankees with Cletus Boyer, Tony Kubek, Bobby Richardson, and Moose Skowron on first base was the best infield I've ever seen.
Whitey Ford won the Cy Young Award with a career-high 25 wins, and the Yankees won 109 games, just one fewer than Babe Ruth and the fabled Murderers Row Yankees of 1927. But the Babe's home run mark, set in 27, did fall when Roger Maris hit number 61 on the season's final day.
Fastball hit deep to right. This could be it. Way back there.
Babe also lost a pitching record in '61 when his World Series scoreless inning streak set with the Red Sox was broken by Ford, whose 33 2/3 straight shutout innings still remains the series standard.
And that makes 30 straight scoreless innings. Whitey Ford, the little lefty with a big heart, has shattered one of Babe Ruth's most cherished records.
Behind Maris and Ford, the Yankees made Houck a World Series champion in his first year managing the team, defeating the Cincinnati Reds in 5 games.
The Yankees win 13-5 and once again are world champions.
As it did in 1960, the 62 series came down to the bottom of the 9th inning of Game 7. And as in 1960, Ralph Terry was on the mound for the Yankees. This time, Terry was pitching a 1-0 shutout. But with 2 outs and runners at second and third, he had to face Willie McCovey, a most imposing slugger.
The same pitcher, Ralph Terry, was pitching that pitched against Mazeroski in 60. And I remember that Ralph Houck walked out to talk to him. Mays was on second base, and I walked over to Kubek, and I remember Tony saying, "Boy, I sure hope McCovey doesn't hit the ball to you." I said, "Well, why?" He said, "Well, you've already made 2 errors in this series, and I'd hate to see you blow it now."
McCovey slashes away again. A sizzling line drive, but it's right at Bobby Richardson. He grabs it as he played McCovey perfectly.
I was just thankful to get an opportunity to win a 7th game of the World Series, especially after losing a 7th game, to redeem myself.
Yankees win 1-0 on a brilliant clutch effort by Ralph Terry, the hero of the 20th World Championship.
Prior to the 1964 season, with the Yankees obviously in need of some sort of shakeup, Ralph Houck was named general manager, and Yogi Berra got an offer he couldn't refuse.
He said, "How would you like to manage?" I said, "Manage who?" He says, "The Yankees." Well, it'll be fine. It'll be all right with me.
One question that people wondered about was how he would be able to relate to the players. Would he be able to discipline players, especially veteran players, players he played with who were not only his teammates but his close friends?
Yogi's Yankees struggled and slipped 4.5 games back by the middle of August. After being swept in Chicago, utility infielder Phil Linz made the mistake of harmonizing on a not-so-harmonious bus.
Yogi was under a lot of criticism. The Yankees were slumping. They had just lost a very tough game in Chicago. They were on their way to O'Hare Airport on the bus.
We go into the airport on a bus loaded with writers and all our coaches. Everybody was on the bus and everything was quiet, really quiet. And I was sitting right next to Phil.
He had, on that road trip, purchased a harmonica and was teaching himself how to play the harmonica.
Phil Linz pulled out a harmonica just to lighten the mood a little bit and started playing Mary Had a Little Lamb.
And Yogi got up and he started saying, "All right, Phil, shove that harmonica,
Yogi called something out. Now I know what he said. He said, "Shove that harmonica up your..."
And Linz, occupied with playing Mary Had a Little Lamb, didn't hear what Yogi said and turned to Mickey Mantle and said, "What did he say?"
Phil Linz said, "What did he say?" And Mickey said, "Play it louder."
I said, uh-oh. Here comes Yogi, running back from the front of the bus.
I told Phil, I said, "Put that thing away, put that thing away."
And that's when I got back there. I got mad. I got the harmonica, threw it at him.
I said, "Here, take it." He catches it. He threw it at me. I'll tell you what, he hit me in the head. I think I'm dead.
Linz was fined, I think, $200.
It was the best fine Phil ever paid because it helped the whole ball club. It loosened everybody up.
And that started. We went up to Boston, and we started off pretty good then, after that.
The point was that was really the crystallizing incident of that 1964 season.
From that point on, the Yankees began to win and came from behind and won the pennant.
In the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals, the Yankees summoned a page from the team's fabled history in their quest for one more crown.
I think what made it special was that we were playing the New York Yankees. Now, the New York Yankees weren't the vaunted Yankees, perhaps, that they were from the late 40s to the mid-50s, but this was their 5th consecutive pennant. And even though they'd lost to the Los Angeles Dodgers the year before, it was still playing against the New York Yankees.
With the score tied in the 9th inning of Game 3 and the series tied at 1 game apiece, a physically weak Mickey Mantle limped to home plate.
One of the few times I ever called a home run and then did it, they took the pitcher out and brought in Barney Schultz. And while he was coming in, I went back to the on-deck circle. Elston Howard was in the on-deck circle, and I said, Ellie, you can go on back in the clubhouse and take a shower if you want. This game's over.
Schultz turns loose his first knuckler. Mantle tears into it with a terrific cut. Shannon races to the fence, but it's a futile gesture. A tape-measure blast.
In Game 7, Mantle hit his 18th and final World Series home run, but not even the Mick could stem the march of time.
The Cardinals are the new world champions.
The Cardinals 1-7. The dynasty was over.
After 1964, it was really pretty sad around here. I should have retired in 64.
And so we really were at a point right then where we needed to rebuild, we needed to get things together, and it took a while before they were able to do that.
Their loss to the Cardinals in the 1964 World Series appeared to reflect an aging New York Yankees team with Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, and Whitey Ford on the decline. But Yogi took the fall and was fired after just 1 year as Yankees manager.
Yogi Berra took a team that had a lot of injuries and older players not performing up to the levels they had been, and he got them into the series.
It wasn't about Yogi's managing, it was the farm system had gone dry.
In 64, Del Webb and Dan Topping sold the team to CBS. They were cutting corners, they started cutting the scouting staff. Really the only prospect the Yankees had offensively would have been Bobby Mercer, and pitching-wise Mel Stottlemyre, but outside of them and a handful of others, the farm system was totally dry.
They hired the man who just beat them in the series, Johnny Keane. Still, the demise of this dynasty continued.
Keane had a horrible aging team. Maris was hurt, Mantle was hurt, a lot of other players had health problems.
The Yankees finished 6th in 65, and early the next season, Houck returned as skipper, but the downward spiral continued, and the Bronx Bombers finished last for the first time since 1912.
I'd be lying if I didn't say that was a tough thing to go through. When you're used to winning and winning with the Yankees, and it was tough.
This was not a passing storm the Yankees needed only to weather. A dark cloud was hanging over this team.
Under CBS, the team wasn't really spending a lot of money for star ball players and was just kind of languishing.
All of a sudden, everybody's gone, you know. I look up, I'm playing first base, and I got Horace Clark playing second, Bobby Cox at third, Stick Michaels on short. I'm thinking, geez, where'd everybody go?
When Mantle finally retired in the spring of '69, the party truly was over.
The Yankees didn't get anything back for Mantle, for Kubek, for Richardson, Whitey Ford. These guys all retired.
With the loss of so much talent, the Yankees were mired in mediocrity. But they did have the 1970 Rookie of the Year Thurman Munson, an impact player who would establish himself as one of the best all-around catchers in the game. The Yankees surrounded him with better talent, trading for players like Greg Nettles and Sparky Lyle. But the biggest move of all was when a group of Cleveland-based businessmen bought the team from CBS in 1973. At the press conference, fans and players were introduced to the leader of the new ownership.
It's important to me, it's important to all of us, and it's particularly important to New York and to the Yankees that the group that gets behind the Yankees at this point have the wherewithal and the interest to get the kind of job done that the sports writers, that the fans, that the city and the media in New York deserve.
The arrival of George Steinbrenner was viewed as a very positive development by everybody close to the Yankees, including the players.
I just said to myself, I got a feeling the Yankees are going to be on their way again. George Steinbrenner looks like he really wants to get us back on top.
I said, I'm going to put you guys in the championship. Give me 3 years.
Both Steinbrenner and general manager Gabe Paul recognized the talent that was there. They simply sought to enhance it.
It was widely assumed that Steinbrenner took over a lousy team. No, he didn't. There was Nettles, Munson, Mercer, Stottlemyre, Sparky Lyle. There was a good core team there.
So like the Yankees of yesteryear, they filled the holes with professional hitters Chris Chambliss and Lou Piniella. They added speed and defense with Mickey Rivers and Willie Randolph, and rebuilt their pitching staff with Dick Tidrow and Ed Figueroa. They also went fishing.
I remember how impressed I was with Catfish. That's the day I said to him, Gabe, if we ever get a ball club, that's the guy I want.
And that's who they got, hook, line, and sinker. Signing Catfish to the biggest contract in the game, triple that of any other ball player at the time.
Struck him out! Holy cow!
Catfish was a major catch for the Yankees, for not only did he bring ace credentials to the pitching staff, he also brought 3 World Series rings with him, exactly the type of hardware the Yankees were looking for. With the talent of the team considerably upgraded, George then hired Billy Martin as manager, returning the Yankees' fireplug to a place he always felt he belonged.
To Billy, returning to the Yankees was everything in his life because he felt betrayed when the Yankees had traded him away, and now this had come full circle. He was back home.
And as a manager, Billy displayed a shrewd baseball intellect.
He was a genius in the dugout. He was 4 steps ahead of anybody else.
And his scrappy style of play soon rubbed off on his players. With a newly renovated stadium and a recharged team, the Yankees entered the '76 season poised for a return to the postseason. At the start of the 1976 campaign, George Steinbrenner appointed Thurman Munson the team captain.
I said, Thurman, we need somebody to lead us. We need a leader, or we're not going to make it. We don't have leadership.
It rekindled a Yankees tradition that had been dormant since the Iron Horse.
Joe McCarthy's intent when Lou Gehrig took himself out of the lineup in 1939 was that there would never be a Yankee captain again. The position was going to be retired with Lou. To his credit, George Steinbrenner said, well, if Joe McCarthy or Lou Gehrig knew Thurman Munson, they'd know this was the right guy.
But Thurman was reluctant to assume command and needed a little convincing.
Finally, he says, I don't want to be the captain anymore. I said, well, that's too bad. I'm paying you, and you're going to be the captain.
He played as the captain, and everybody knew it. You didn't have to name him captain to know he was the captain.
He was a guy that really just went out there and led by example. He wasn't a big talker, he wasn't a rah-rah guy. But when you see a guy go out there and on bad knees trying to run and catch, that's inspiring.
8 years behind the plate had taken a toll on Thurman's body, but he was still able to play the role of leader, and for his efforts, he won the American League MVP award.
That season, he decided that he was going to go for it all, I think, and just, take the Yankees where they needed to go. And he did.
Munson helped the Yankees end their 12-year absence from postseason play, and they faced the Kansas City Royals in the League Championship Series. In the 5th and final game, with the score tied at 6 in the 9th, Chris Chambliss stepped to the plate.
Art Littell delivers high drive. It's in right center field. That's gone. It is gone. Chris Chambliss has won the American League pennant for the New York Yankees.
I don't know if a lot of guys can say, he had that one moment that you can remember your career by, but that home run was just one of the most exciting moments of my life.
Well, that home run right there, I think, was a big moment for me. And the reason being, of course, that we hadn't been in a series in over 10 years, and now we were going to go into the World Series with that home run. And I think that was a big moment for everybody in New York, too.
But the euphoria of returning to the Fall Classic was short-lived. For the Yankees faced a Cincinnati team that was in the midst of its own dynasty as the Big Red Machine, and the Bombers never won a game. After Cincinnati's humbling 4-game sweep, Steinbrenner signed his second big free agent from Oakland in 2 years.
George Steinbrenner, being the entertainer that he is, determined that he wanted as much pizzazz as he could possibly bring to Yankee Stadium. And so the player he wanted to sign was Reggie Jackson.
Reggie signed a 5-year deal worth $3.5 million. At the time, it made him the highest paid player in the game.
I thought we were getting ourselves a legitimate superstar that played hard, that played to win, that was part of winning teams, but I knew we were also going to get a little controversy.
It began before spring training, when Reggie questioned the leadership of Captain Thurman Munson in a national magazine.
As Reggie came to spring training, he did this article where he said, "I am the straw that stirs the drink."
Reggie said, I'm the straw that stirs the drink. Munson can only stir it bad. And I was like, wow.
Thurman Munson was the leader of the Yankees. And when they read what Reggie had to say about Thurman, they were absolutely furious.
Reggie had distanced himself from his teammates and his manager. The tension reached a boiling point during a mid-June game in Boston.
Jim Rice hits what we all felt was a routine fly ball to right, and Reggie, not only does he not catch it, he lets Jim Rice get to second base for a double. And Jim Rice is not the fastest man in the world.
And you're going, oh, something's going to happen here. Billy's going berserk. And he hollers out at Paul Blair, Blair, and yeah, get your glove, go to right field.
Oh, he's going to take Reggie out of the game in this situation. He's actually going to pull one of his best players out of the ball game.
He turns around and looks and says, "You coming in for me?" I said, "Yeah, come on." He said, "Why?" I said, "Billy's the manager. Go in there and ask Billy."
And after that happened, I went, wow.
He showed Jackson up for not hustling on that pop fly of Rice's. Jackson hit the top step of the dugout and went flying right at Billy Martin.
One of them was telling the other one, you're showing me up, and the other one said, how can I show you up when you just showed me up?
The Yankee dugout, which is a place of turmoil.
With the Yankees immersed in such a tumultuous, volatile environment, Sparky Lyle and Greg Nettles came up with the term Bronx Zoo to describe the clubhouse. Many Yankees used humor to diffuse the chaotic situation, but Lyle was best at bringing laughter to the team.
Well, Sparky was a real loose guy, real fun-loving guy, and a great guy to have on the ball club.
He kept the clubhouse loose. He was the king, practical joker on that team.
Sparky loves to sit on birthday cakes. Nobody ever got a piece of birthday cake because Sparky would make sure he sat on it before anybody could get it. That's Sparky.
But Sparky was far more than just the team jester.
Sparky was the first real big closer that we'd had here for a long period of time.
He had the hardest slider you ever want to see in your life. I mean, he was unhittable at times.
Struck him out, Sparky Lyle.
Sparky's slider helped him win the Cy Young Award, the first time an American League reliever had ever been so honored. He also helped the Yankees reach the championship series, where they met Kansas City for the second straight year, stoking the flames of what had now become a heated rivalry.
The players on the Yankees literally hated the Kansas City Royals, and the players on the Royals literally hated the Yankees.
And when the final bell rang, it was the Yankees who scored a knockout.
Bouncing ball, Nettles goes to Randolph, one over to first. In time, the Yankees win the American League pennant.
The Dodgers were the Yankees' foe in the World Series, sparking memories of another era.
Yankees-Dodgers, two great histories, two biggest cities, two biggest media markets. It captivated the country.
The stage was set for Reggie Jackson to help bring a championship back to the Yankees. Although he got off to a slow start in the series, Reggie began to stir with home runs in both the fourth and fifth games.
It's way back. It is gone into the left center field pavilion. Reggie Jackson.
The Yankees returned home up 3-2, with Reggie on the verge of an historic offensive eruption.
I just had a feeling before the game that he would do something special. Just had a funny feeling about it.
With Reggie, nothing he did ever surprised you. You know, you knew Reggie was capable of almost any theatrical moment.
But this would be legendary. After hitting a home run in the fourth inning, Reggie, filled with confidence, came to bat in the fifth.
Drive to right field and deep. Way back, going, gone. Another home run for Reggie Jackson. And the Yankees lead 7-3.
On to the eighth, at an encore that would resonate forever.
Goodbye. Oh, what a blow! What a way to top it off! How this man has responded to pressure.
Everybody in that ballpark was cheering him. Whatever craziness he had brought to the Yankees was forgiven that day.
What are they all thinking now? After all the furor, it came down to this.
That game, that day, was something that justified everything that had taken place.
Reggie's phenomenal day helped lead the Yankees to a place they hadn't been in 15 years.
The Yankees win their 21st World Series.
4 years after George Steinbrenner bought the team, the Yankees were champions once again. But George did not rest on his laurels. He continued to try and improve the team during the offseason, signing another high-price free agent, closer Goose Gossage. A curious choice because he was replacing a Cy Young Award winner in Sparky.
I mean, my whole thing with bringing Goose in is, and I told George this myself, that, hey, if I was him, I would have brought Goose Gossage in too. He was younger, threw harder.
But Goose struggled early in the '78 season, and so did the team, which heightened the tension in the clubhouse. The rift between the two main combatants, Billy and Reggie, only got worse.
Each day, you could feel the tension as a sports writer walking into that clubhouse.
The chaos reached its peak in mid-July when Martin ordered Reggie to bunt, and Reggie refused at first.
And then with 2 strikes, Billy took the bunt off.
Billy had Reggie hitting away, and Reggie was bunting on his own. How many times during the course of Reggie's long and great career was he given the bunt sign? Not too many times. So maybe he missed a sign.
Reggie was suspended, and he returned to a no-win situation. Martin was lashing out at everyone. The firestorm created this time could not be extinguished, and Billy was soon gone.
I hope they win it. I owe it to my health and my mental well-being to resign.
Billy was out, and the more relaxed, laid-back Bob Lemon was in.
He said, you got a great team here. You guys have proven what you can do. Let's go out there and just, finish up strong, and maybe we get back in this thing. So he was the perfect guy for that spot, I thought.
The Yankees trailed Boston by 14 games just before Lemon took over, but Bob wasn't about to quit.
We have 9 games left with Boston, and anything can happen.
And it did. Yankees fans knew something was up when the team went to Fenway and swept the Red Sox 4 straight, outscoring them 42-9 in what became known as the Boston Massacre.
Fenway Park was just, the silence was deafening. I just couldn't believe how we had, come up there and just steamroll them like that.
Incredibly, the two teams ended the season in a first-place deadlock, and it all came down to one final playoff game. The Yankees were brimming with confidence because Ron Guidry, the eventual Cy Young Award winner, was on the mound.
The playoff game would have to be up in Boston, and I didn't like that at all. I was really down because we were going to have to fly up there. So I came out of the stadium that night, walking to my car in the parking lot, and here's Guidry. And he said, "What are you so down about?" Like that. I said, "Well, what the hell do you think I'm down about? We got to go up there and play those," whatever I call them. And he said, "Don't worry, boss. Don't worry. I'm going to beat him."
Guidry's confidence was understandable. He had one of the most dominant seasons by a pitcher in the modern era, 25-3 with a 1.74 ERA. But pitching on just 3 days rest, he was shaky early on, and the Yankees fell behind.
That's gone. It's a home run if it stays fair. And a home run.
Boston took a 2-0 lead into the 7th. But then the curse of the Bambino reared its head, with light-hitting Bucky Dent at the plate.
Deep to left. Yastrzemski will not get his home run. A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2. Well, the last guy on the ball club you'd expect to hit a home run. Just hit one into the screen. Bucky Dent.
Dent's home run capped off one of the most incredible comebacks by any team in the history of the game.
Popped up. That might be it. Netto's over at third base. He'll squeeze it and it's over.
What a comeback by this team that has come back all year long.
We came from 14 games down. They kept saying, they had a bad streak. If they could get another crack at us, that they'd beat us. They've got a better front 9 than we have, and we came up and beat them all over again. And I tell you, it really feels good.
And then for the 3rd consecutive year, the Yankees beat the Royals to win the pennant.
Wilson going way back. It is.
And in still another World Series rematch with the Dodgers, the Yankees battled back from a 2-game deficit for the 22nd championship in franchise history.
The World
World champions for the second year in a row, the New York Yankees.
It was a strange and wonderful season in New York, one played under a full moon from beginning to end.
It was just the way the owner wanted it to be, I think. He wanted us on the back page of the tabloids, and we did our darndest to stay there.
When we left the dugout and we stepped on the field, we were totally together. That's what sets that team apart than most teams.
I really can't say enough about all the fun that we had on the field and off the field. But when these guys went between the lines, they really knew how to play the game.
The New York Yankees, world champions, team of the decade, most successful franchise of the century.
When you put on the Yankee pinstripes, something definitely different happens to you.
And the Yankees have won the pennant. And he wins the batting crown. He did it! He did it!
Team of the century. There's no other team in any other sport that can say that.
Oh, hang on! We will never see this again.
It is the third perfect game in Yankee Stadium history.
The New York Yankees are world tokens ready. They have done it again.
When we look back 5-10 years from now, a lot of people are going to be proud to be part of this team.
You can only feel the emotion and the pride being a part of this great franchise.
See ya! See ya!
It can't be like this anywhere else.
We did it right here! We did it!
When Catcher Thurman Munson perished in a plane crash in 1979, the Yankees felt a loss far greater than they had ever encountered on the playing field. Losing their captain was a tragic blow to the team, but the core from those championship years of 77 and 78 was still intact. And as the Yankees began the 80s, they had every reason to believe they could right the ship. The days of the Bronx Zoo and manager Billy Martin were now over. In 1980, Billy was replaced by a more reserved Dick Hauser, with hopes that a new personality would benefit both the team and its superstar.
He wasn't an excitable type of person like Billy. Dick was just a no-nonsense, let's get the job done, serious type person. And I think that kind of helped Reggie.
It helped him to his best season ever in New York. Reggie led the league with 41 home runs, the most by a Yankees player since 1961. He also hit 300 and finished second in the MVP voting to George Brett of the Royals, a team the Yankees had come to know only too well in the 70s.
Kansas City over in the American League became a great rivalry with the Yankees. There was some really, really great baseball being played at that time.
The Yankees had defeated the Royals in the 76, 77, and 78 playoffs. But in the 1980 championship series, Brett got his revenge.
It is gone! 3-run home run by George Brett, and Brett has taken the Royals and put them in front.
The image of Kansas City celebrating the pennant prompted the Yankees to pursue the market's biggest free agent.
Remember that number. You're going to see a lot of it.
But Dave Winfield and Reggie Jackson on the same team? According to Reggie, no problem.
I called him 3 times while he was a free agent and told him that it would be great to play with him, would be lovely to have him on the Yankees, and thought that he would really benefit by coming here. And I'm just looking forward to it and excited about it.
In a strike-shortened season, the 81 Yankees' first-place standing before the work stoppage qualified them to face the Milwaukee Brewers, the team that finished first after the strike, for the right to advance to the championship series. The Yankees slipped past Milwaukee and went on to face Billy Martin's A's in the League Championship Series, whom they rolled over in 3 straight.
The Yankees have won the pennant.
In the 81 World Series, the Yankees once again faced a foe from their storied past. They won the first 2 games against the Dodgers, and at that point, no one gave Los Angeles much hope of stopping them. But when the series resumed on the West Coast, the Dodgers went on a tear and won 3 straight. Once the series moved back to New York, the Dodgers had all the momentum.
The Dodgers are the 1981 champions of baseball.
I thought we had a much better team than them in 81. Maybe got a little overconfident, and they came back and beat us 4 in a row.
The Dodgers' stunning comeback led to a tumultuous offseason, with Reggie once again in the middle, and after 5 years with the Yankees, he was signed by the Angels. But losing Reggie was just the start of a decade of discourse. Throughout the 80s, the Yankees would endure a number of managerial changes, including a brief stint for Yankees legend Yogi Berra in '84 and '85. It would be some time before he returned. The Yankees were also struggling to find the right chemistry on the field.
Look at that play! Believe it! Look at that play!
On offense, the team was quite prolific, but that did not necessarily translate into glory.
We won a lot of games in New York. We really did. We had the best record of the 80s. We won more games than anybody. We didn't win more championships, but we certainly won more games.
During those chaotic times, you couldn't blame the Yankees for trying to gain any advantage they could. In a game against Kansas City in 1983, George Brett put the Royals ahead with a ninth-inning home run.
Deep to right field. Holy cow, I don't believe it. Home run for George Brett.
And now the Royals have the one-run lead.
But the Yankees claimed that the amount of pine tar on Brett's bat made it illegal.
Billy Martin and the Yankees want the bat.
I said, if they call me out for using too much pine tar, I'll run out there and I'll kill one of those SOBs. Talking about the umpires.
Oh, the Yankees win it. He's out.
Yes, sir.
Brett is out. Look at this. Brett is out.
His team is back. It's one of the most unbelievable endings I have ever seen.
And the Yankees have won the ball game 4-3.
That is the maddest human being that I've ever seen.
But League President Lee MacPhail overturned the umpires, and after 25 days, play was resumed, with the Royals this time the winners. Through it all, the Yankees did give their fans reason to cheer, like that scorching hot 4th of July in '83 against an arch rival, with Dave Righetti on the mound.
I had 9 or 10 strikeouts in the first, 3.5, 4 innings, so I had to back off if I was going to survive it because it was so hot.
But Rags overcame the heat and cooled off the Boston bats. In the 9th, he would face the heart of the order in his quest to reach the record books.
Wade Boggs, the batter.
And this is the toughest out in baseball.
I knew that coming up with 2 outs in the 9th inning, that if I got a hit, there was probably no way that I was going to get out of New York alive.
Dave Righetti on the threshold of making history here at Yankee Stadium.
Righetti trying to get Boggs, and he gets it! A no-hitter! A no-hitter! A no-hitter for Dave Righetti!
In 1984, young first baseman Don Mattingly and the veteran Dave Winfield waged an epic battle for the batting crown.
It was great intensity. To see the concentration, to sit back and watch both guys get locked in was incredible.
It was just 2 guys who were diligent at their trade. That's what attracted everybody to the stadium. And people just really enjoyed classic, good hitting and the competition on the same team.
Baby's gone! Don Mattingly!
The fact that this homegrown talent was taking on a high-priced free agent helped make Mattingly the sentimental favorite.
Dave established himself as a superstar in the league, and naturally I think a lot of people are for the underdog. They're for that young kid, ain't making no money yet. So it was a lot easier on me than I think it was on Dave, a lot more pressure on him.
On the last day of the season at Yankee Stadium, Mattingly trailed Winfield by 2 points, but a clutch 4-for-5 performance sealed it for the future captain.
Well, then that's got to be a base hit, and he wins the batting crown.
Mattingly became the first Yankees player to win the batting title since Mickey Mantle in 1956, and his .343 average was the highest for a Yankees left-hander since Lou Gehrig. Throughout this time, Mattingly was undoubtedly the team's most inspirational player.
Mattingly is unbelievable.
He might be the most revered athlete in New York history. He was the one shining light in a dark tunnel.
Although his team struggled, Mattingly always played to his full potential. Personal accolades simply followed.
Hitman once again comes through. Grand slam time for Don Mattingly.
In all phases of what he meant to me and to the Yankees, he was just special.
Despite his brilliance, Mattingly's chronic back hampered his ability to play on a regular basis. And while his pain was symbolic of the team's struggles in the 80s, nothing hit harder than the tragic death of Billy Martin, when the pickup truck in which he was riding spun off an upstate New York thruway on Christmas Day of 1989.
He was the ultimate warrior, so to speak. He laid it all out on the field.
He got consumed with something that cost him in the end his life, but in the very end, he was my friend as much as he was when we started.
Martin's death marked a bitter end to the decade. In the midst of one of their longest playoff droughts, Yankees fans could only wonder when these dark days would end. The decade of the 90s began for the Yankees much like the 80s had ended, with frustration. Never was this more evident than in a game pitched by hard luck Andy Hawkins. No need to imagine, for in the 8th inning of a scoreless game, 3 Yankees errors set a most unlikely scene.
It's a no-hitter, but 4 big runs score, all our name.
I'll tell you what, it's really tough to throw a no-hitter and get beat. I don't know of too many instances where I've seen that happen.
In 1990, George Steinbrenner was suspended by the Commissioner of Major League Baseball, his second such suspension since purchasing the Yankees. Back in 1974, Commissioner Bowie Kuhn banned Steinbrenner from the game for 2 years for making illegal political contributions to President Richard Nixon's re-election campaign. The ban was later reduced to 15 months. The 1990 suspension came after Steinbrenner gathered information through a gambler for use in an ongoing disagreement with Yankee star player Dave Winfield. This was a lifetime ban imposed by Commissioner Fay Vincent, but it was lifted after 3 years. Although he disagreed with the decisions, Steinbrenner accepted the judgment of Commissioners Kuhn and Vincent and harbored no ill will toward anyone involved.
In neither case am I bitter. I realized that both men, both Fay and Bowie, did what they felt they had to do for the best interests of baseball at the time.
With the boss sidelined, the future of the team lay in the capable hands of general manager Gene Michael, and Stick sought to restore order to the franchise by hiring no-nonsense manager Buck Showalter. The change was immediate.
It really became psychodrama free. It became about baseball, and it's as likable a group as you're ever going to find.
He did it! No-hitter for Jim Abbott!
Gene Michael's soaking in the moment. That's his acquisition.
Together, Stick and Buck looked to put players in pinstripes that were committed to restoring a winning tradition to the Yankees. At the top of this list were perennial All-Stars Jimmy Key and Wade Boggs.
They said when I went to New York in '93 that I wouldn't hit, and I wound up with a .318 lifetime average at Yankee Stadium.
In addition to proven veterans, the Yankees also rebuilt from within, with budding young talent like outfielder Bernie Williams.
Bernie had power potential, but wasn't physically developed yet. Finally, all of a sudden, boom, it clicked. He became a better center fielder, and he started juicing the ball more, and he caught on fire, and he had a lot of confidence after that.
Michael also made some shrewd trades for players who knew how to win, like when he dealt All-Star outfielder Roberto Kelly to Cincinnati for Paul O'Neill.
I think I came in at the exact right time. I mean, I came in as soon as the team was starting to turn around to win.
In just his second American League season, Paul hit .359 and captured the batting title. He also helped lead the team to the league's best record. But more than anything, O'Neill and the Yankees wanted the chance to play for a World Series title, and that never materialized.
I think everybody was devastated because it was going to be their chance, and it went by the boards.
No one was more devastated than Captain Don Mattingly, who had labored his entire career simply to reach the playoffs.
I'd heard so much stuff. Played the most games without getting in the postseason, all that kind of stuff. It kind of puts a mark on you, like you're the reason that they're not getting the postseason.
Well, in 1995, Donnie Baseball finally made it.
Bandy Knorr hits it to Fernandez. He goes to second, and the New York Yankees have won the first ever wild card. Don Mattingly, finally going to the postseason.
It feels worth it now. Everything that I've been through, our team's been through.
At first base, number 23, Don Mattingly.
The Yankees won the first game 9-6, and that set the stage for the beloved captain to make his postseason presence felt in Game 2.
This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run. Don Mattingly.
But in this game, Mattingly wasn't the only Yankees player on target.
Series was one of the most intense series I've ever covered.
If it's any better than this, I don't know where you have to go.
Try the bottom of the 15th of a 5-5 game.
If ever a guy was due, it is Jim Leyritz.
I give him the green light.
Fly ball, right field. Maybe. It could be. Back at the wall. Goodbye, home run. The Yankees win. Jim Leyritz, a 2-run homer in the 15th inning. Yankees win 7-5.
Back to Seattle limped the Mariners for Game 3. But though down and facing elimination, they were certainly not out. This incredible series came down to a deciding 5th game. Unfortunately for the Yankees, someone would have to lose.
Everything was great until the last inning of Game 5 in Seattle, and I'll remember that one for a long time.
It was just a great learning experience, and I think it was just a great setting going into '96, with a new hunger.
The Yankees began the '96 season with renewed vigor, having reestablished themselves as a playoff team. But there was change. Captain Don Mattingly had retired and was replaced by Tino Martinez. In addition, there was a new skipper steering the Yankees ship.
And announced today the new manager of the New York Yankees, Mr. Joe Torre.
The critics ripped the decision, for in 31 big league seasons, Torre had played in or managed more than 4,000 games and had never once reached the World Series.
People were wondering why George Steinbrenner would pick this loser to manage his New York Yankee ball club.
Nobody ever dreamed that Joe would be as great a manager as he has been.
96 was also Derek Jeter's first year with the club, and he quickly got a taste of magic in the Bronx.
Makes the catch! A no-hitter for Dwight Gooden!
The Yankees would also discover a hidden gem.
I was a lone reliever at the time. As the year moved on, I started pitching well. So Torre decided to set a rule, and from that moment, I just take off.
Who's been better for this club than Mariano Rivera?
He became part of the formula in '96.
A formula, 1 part Rivera, 1 part closer John Wetland.
You have a lead. You hand it over to Rivera for the 7th and 8th. You hand it over to Wetland for the 9th.
If we had the lead in the 6th inning, the game was over. If we went into a game or into a series, we just basically say, let's try to win 6 innings, and if we do that, we're going to come out on top.
Which they did 92 times to win their first divisional title since 1981. Then in the League Championship Series, Jeter got his first taste of the fabled Yankees mystique.
In right field. And what happens here? He contends that a fan reaches up and touches it.
I feel like just like something amazing is happening. It's unbelievable.
Calls go your way sometimes, other times they go against you. I mean, they call it a home run and helped us win a game.
Jeter comes across to tie the game.
If not for that home run, Baltimore might have gone back home to Camden Yards with a 2-0 lead.
Instead, the Yankees went on to win the series and earn their first trip to the World Series since 1981. The moment Torre had been waiting for had finally arrived. And when the Braves dominated Game 1, the World Series rookie manager refused to panic.
I happened to say to George that night, I said, you know, George, I said, we might not even win tonight because Maddox is pitching for the Braves. I said, we'll go to Atlanta, we'll win 3 games there and come back and win it for you next Saturday. And I sort of walked out of the office, and he looked at me like I had 2 heads.
So the Yankees won the first game in Atlanta, then the next, thanks to Jim Leyritz in a stirring 6-run comeback.
In the air to left field. Back at the track at the wall. We are tied.
Andy Pettit dominated Game 5, and Paul O'Neill provided the defense for a 3-2 series lead.
What a play by Paul O'Neill to end it.
When the team returned to New York, it was clear those dark days of Yankees baseball were finally over.
Hayes waits. The Yankees are champions of baseball.
It was just very rewarding to see us just have the culmination of all our efforts.
This team represents New York because they don't quit.
We were fortunate. We had a great team. It was something that hadn't happened in New York in a very long time.
18 years to be exact since the Yankees had last been champions. But it was no doubt extra special for Torre, for this was his first.
Joe, I got a little cocktail for you, buddy.
The euphoria of the '96 season dissolved the following year when the Yankees fell to the Cleveland Indians in the division series.
Congratulations to the Cleveland Indians back in the ALCS.
But it was just a painful memory when the 1998 campaign began. Boasted by several key additions, it became obvious early on that this season just might be special.
Swung on. He's going to get it. Popped up to right field. O'Neill near the line. He makes the catch. David Wells has pitched a perfect game.
The second perfect game in Yankees history was symbolic of a nearly perfect season, for the Yankees dominated start to finish and closed out the regular season with an incredible number of victories.
114 wins.
In the division series, they quickly dispatched the Texas Rangers with a tidy 3-game sweep. Now in the championship series, they had the chance to gain revenge on the Cleveland team that dethroned them 1 year prior, and they came out fighting.
And toward the hole, Jeter backhands from the outfield grass. Got him! Man, what a play!
It was during the ALCS that the Yankees encountered their first bit of adversity, dropping both games 2 and 3. But rookie Orlando Hernandez was outstanding and cooled off Cleveland's potent offense.
El Duque has been the man tonight. Huge strikeout for El Duque.
This game in the ACLS was huge. He's just shown such great poise out there.
It was just a matter of time before the Yankees got that revenge.
Ball game over. American League Championship Series over. Yankees win. Yankees win.
The Yankees were now just 4 wins away from perhaps the greatest season in Major League history. The San Diego Padres, led by Tony Gwynn, stood in their way, and they too got a taste of Yankees mystique.
Swung on a drill deep to right. There it goes. That ball is gone. A grand slam into the upper deck for Tino Martinez.
Watching that grand slam go out of there and just watching the people go crazy. That's what I remember about the 1998 World Series.
Following an easy victory by the Yankees in Game 2, Scott Brosius sparked some late-inning drama in Game 3 when he faced Trevor Hoffman, the Padres closer and their MVP, with 1 out in the 8th, 2 men on, and the Yankees trailing 4-2.
Swung on and hit in the air to deep center. Finley back, away back, on the track, at the wall, gone! A 3-run home run for Scott Brosius.
It really struck me when I saw the emotion on his face. I mean, how could you not be pumped in the World Series in this type of situation? But that's one of the great performances in World Series history and Yankee World Series history.
It was only appropriate that the eventual series MVP would put the cap on the sweep.
Brosius fittingly with a throw. The Yankees have done it again. They are the world champions of baseball in 1998.
Boy, if I had one word, it'd probably just be storybook.
In our lifetime, we will probably never see this again.
This team, as far as what it's accomplished, it's kind of mind-boggling.
Good vibrations continued in '99 as George Steinbrenner and Yogi Berra reconciled, ending Yogi's 14-year absence from the stadium. The addition of 5-time Cy Young Award winner Roger Clemens to an already potent pitching staff was an equally promising turn of events. But then the team was stunned to learn that Joe Torre had prostate cancer. Fortunately, Joe made a remarkable recovery and inspired his men.
That was, I think, the moment for us to get focused, and Torre gave us that push that we needed.
And to prove that the Yankees' mystique was indeed intact, David Cone made a perfect case for déjà vu.
He popped him up. Roches makes the catch. Ball game over. A perfect game for David Cone.
The Yankees were on track for 98 wins in '99, but to reach the World Series this time, they'd have to conquer a familiar foe. No sweat.
A home run. Bernie Williams.
The Yankees were back in the Fall Classic.
World Series bound yet again.
With Atlanta their foe, the stage was set to determine the team of the decade. The Yankees won the first two in Atlanta behind both solid pitching and timely hitting.
It'll be a 3-1. The pitch hit on the ground. Base hit right field. Curtis scores. Coming around third is Knobloch. The throw home is not in time. And in the 8th inning, the Yankees take a 3-1 lead.
When they returned to New York, the team was challenged once again. Different day, different hero, same result.
Swung on a drill deep to left field. That could go. Williams back. Looking up. See ya. Oh, what a home run for Chad Curtis. The Yankees win the game 6-5, and they're 1 win away from baseball nirvana.
And when Mariano Rivera did his thing in Game 4, 100 years of unmatched success was assured.
The New York Yankees, world champions, team of the decade, most successful franchise of the century.
You now direct your attention to Monument Park for the raising of the New York Yankees' 25th championship flag.
Fresh off their second straight World Series title, the Yankees had a tough time living up to their past success, winning just 87 games during the regular season.
It was pressure for a different reason, and it was like trying to get something over with so we can get on with the postseason.
In the division series, the Yankees faced the upstart Oakland A's, who took them to uncharted territory, a decisive Game 5. There, the Yankees took an early lead, then found themselves in the more familiar position of moving on.
Martinez in background, and the New York Yankees march on to the American League Championship Series.
After splitting the first two games with Seattle in New York, the venue shifted to Safeco Field. It was there Roger Clemens earned his postseason pinstripes with a dominating performance.
16 in a row for Clemens. Overpowering performance.
It was an exciting game for him. You get locked in what you're doing. Really didn't matter who the hitter was that night.
It was the best pitching performance I've ever seen out of any pitcher.
This is one of the great performances in a Hall of Fame career.
Clemens had put the team back in stride, and back in the Bronx, they put it away.
Swung on a drill deep to right field. There it goes. See ya. Into the upper deck. David Justice with a 3-run home run. And the Yankees have come all the way back. Get your tokens ready. Now the stage is set for the Subway Series between the Yankees and Mets.
After 44 years, the Subway Series was back, and the fans were beside themselves.
Let's go Yankees! Let's go Mets!
I hate the Yankees as much as I like the Mets.
If you were in New York, you couldn't escape it. I mean, everything I heard or saw was the Subway Series.
The energy in the Big Apple was kinetic, but on the field, it was the Yankees who seemed a bit more energized.
Swung on and drilled deep to left field, and it's off the top of the wall, fielded by Justice. He fires into Jeter. Perez is coming home. Here's the throw. He is out!
Despite their faux pas on the base paths, the Mets were just 2 outs away from a Game 1 triumph, but Paul O'Neill had a plan.
I was doing all I could just to keep the bat going until I could get a pitch to hit.
He never did get one, but drew a walk following a gutsy 10-pitch at bat, one that sparked a rally, for he eventually scored the tying run. Then came the 12th inning, and Jose Vizcaíno, still another in a long line of Yankees playoff heroes.
Vizcaíno, left field, base hit. Yankees win Game 1.
While the Mets simmered over Game 1, Roger Clemens brought Game 2 to a boil.
Broken bat foul ball off the right side, and the barrel of the bat came out to Clemens, and he picks it up and throws it back.
After both sides settled down, Clemens assumed complete command.
Oh, what a splitter. Hellacious.
Wow was the word of the day.
Scott Brocious with a towering home run.
Now the Yankees had a 2-game edge, but when the series moved to Queens, they suffered their first World Series loss since Game 2 of '96. Not to worry, as Jeter set the tone for Game 4 right from the start.
And Jeter swings. It's a high drive to left. It is high. It is far. It is gone.
And Derek knew full well the impact of his leadoff blast.
It's huge. They just beat us the night before, and 3-1 is a lot better than 2-2.
The Bronx Bombers were on the brink of their 3rd straight title, and in Game 5, Yankees good luck charm Luis Sojo sought to extinguish any hope the Mets might have had.
Up the middle. Base hit. Here comes Posada. Throw to the plate. Hits the runner. Into the dugout. Brocious will score, and the Yankees lead 4-2.
With a 2-run lead, the Yankees turned to the man who had closed out their last 2 championships. But this one did have a moment of fear.
Johnson gets into one to center. Back is Brian Williams, a 3-piece.
An incredible moment, during which the players honored the man who had led them to the top 4 of the past 5 years.
To have them come together to feel that way about their manager got me choked up.
It was just amazing, the fact that we have been able to have this much success year after year after year.
After 3 straight championships, the 2001 Yankees added crafty veteran Mike Mussina and a rising young star in Alfonso Soriano to complement their all-star core. But Roger Clemens would stand above the rest with a record-breaking season.
He is the top strikeout pitcher in the history of the American League.
But it was just the beginning for the Rocket.
Swung on and missed. He struck him out.
His consistency was incredible.
Every start, he kept the Yankees in the game, giving up 3 runs or less, lasting 6 or more innings, start after start after start.
First pitcher in history to go 20-1.
In 2001, all of that work came to fruition. There he was, 20-1. I mean, it was just an amazing year.
Sadly, though, the 2001 season would be best remembered for the tragedy of 9/11. The Yankees became symbols of strength, of recovery, a means to help ease the city's pain.
In a way, I never realized how much of an influence I have on people around me and people that know about the Yankees.
I guess it's a blessing to be able to bring some smiles to some people's faces just because of who you are or what you do. Just to go over and shake those guys' hands and maybe put a smile on their face. It's just great to be able to do it and to be able to help out.
The support and everything that the city has gotten from the Yankee players themselves and the people of New York, it's just it's a great feeling. I think it's great for the city if the Yankees do pull it off, hopefully.
But the road to the World Series would be daunting for the red-hot Oakland A's, who almost beat the Yankees in 2000, won the first 2 Division Series games in New York.
No team has come back in a 5-game series down 2-0 with the first 2 losses at home.
The only way this series is over if it's a 2 out of 3. It's a 3 out of 5, and they haven't won 3 games yet.
Then the Yankees' fortunes turned on an incredible play by a perennial postseason hero.
Giambi on his way to third, and they're going to wave him around. The throw misses a cutoff man, shot to the plate, out at the plate. Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop.
I saw the throw was going over both Soriano and Tino's head, and I just tried to get it and get rid of it as quick as possible, but Jorge deserved a lot of credit for the tag he made.
After that, I just thought, somehow we're going to win this game. We're going to have to win this game now because we just got the play of the year.
It was unbelievable, and at that point in time realized that, we have to win now.
They did win Game 4, and the series moved back to New York, where the Yankees would not be denied. Once again, Jeter's defense took center stage.
Popped up, third base side. Brocious and Jeter both over. Jeter, did he get it? Did he get it? Did he get it? He got it! He got it! Unbelievable, this guy.
We never give up. That's what the Yankees are doing. That's what the people in New York City are doing. It's amazing the way we keep coming back and we don't give up.
The Yankees will defend their title.
The New York Yankees have risen from the dead, and coming from a 2-0 deficit, this is the most emotional demonstration since the Yankees beat Atlanta in '96.
Following the historic comeback, even the Seattle Mariners, who won an American League record of 116 games, had to think the Yankees' mystique might be too much to overcome.
And Deal swung on, hit high in the air to deep right center field. Back goes Ichiro on the track, at the wall, she's gone! Alfonso Soriano wins the game with a 2-run home run. The Yankees win 3-1, and they take a 3-1 lead in the American League Championship Series.
I'm never, ever going to forget that moment, because that home run in the 9th inning won the game. It was very special for me, because it helped lift the team's spirits.
It was a sign of things to come, for another pennant was just a formality.
2 outs, top of the 9th, Yankees lead 12-3. Rivera, Deal swung on and line to right, charging is Spencer. He makes the catch. Ball game over. American League Championship Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
And in a couple of days, they'll head to Arizona, where they'll take on the Arizona Diamondbacks and try to win their 4th straight World Series.
It was the 37th Fall Classic for the New York Yankees, just the first for Arizona. But the Diamondbacks quickly shed their rookie role when a pair of 20-game winners put New York in a deep hole.
Diamondbacks winning, they're up 2-0.
A disheartened Yankees team made its way back to a city seeking to rise from its own despair. There, before Game 3, came a visit that stirred the heart.
It was an incredible show of support for getting back to normal by the president. He certainly showed the courage that we all have to exhibit now to get back to our everyday living.
So the Yankees turned to their own pillar of strength, and 20-game winner Roger Clemens delivered 7 strong innings. A perfect finish by Rivera gave New York the win it so desperately needed. In Game 4, the Yankees continued to feed off the aura of their city and the hallowed Bronx grounds that wily veterans had come to fear.
Crazy things happen in a full moon.
Like when you're trailing by 2 in the 9th, facing Arizona's bullpen ace with Tino Martinez at the plate, 2 out, and a runner on base.
Center field, hit his way back, at the wall, goodbye, home run, Tino Martinez! And the Yankees of the precipice of defeat. Tie the game at 3.
On to November. The Yankees already had a Mr. October in Reggie Jackson. Was a new title awaiting Derek Jeter?
3-2 pitch. Swung on a drill to right field. Going back Sanders. On the track. At the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya!
I've never hit a walk-off home run before. You dream of when you're a kid, is to hit a home run in a key situation in the World Series, and to get an opportunity to do that is pretty overwhelming. You can't really put into words what the feeling is like.
With the series now knotted at 2 games apiece, what could Game 5 do for an encore? How about same inning, same lead, same closer, 2 outs and a runner on base, this time for Scott Brocious.
That one hit in the air to left field. Do you believe it? Goodbye, home run. They have done it again. This game is tied.
I don't believe it. Deja vu. A 2-out, game-time 2-run home run by Scott Brocious. Probably the most unbelievable feat in World Series history.
When that ball left the bat, I said, Groundhog Day, here we go again.
It's being a little kid again. That's all it is. You're filled with so much excitement and adrenaline, especially on the heels of the night before. Just going around the bases going, wow, no way did this happen again, and we still have a chance to win the game now.
With a score tied in the 12th, the Yankees went in search of still another hero. At the plate, a rookie, Alfonso Soriano, just now getting a taste of Yankees mystique.
He gets up there and takes a pitch the other way.
Into right field, base hit. Here comes Knobloch.
Here's the throw. Here's the play at the plate.
Yankees win. They lead the series 3-2. They've done it again. Unbelievable.
Oh my! Another miracle in the Bronx.
These last 2 games defy description.
It was a bittersweet victory for Paul O'Neill, having played his final game in the Bronx.
Hey, boy, bro.
A crowd favorite for 9 years, he got the ultimate send-off.
I don't have words to really describe how you feel as a player. I mean, everybody wants to be accepted and liked, and to see that in that atmosphere, it was unbelievable to me. It really was.
Paul O'Neill at first doesn't like to show his emotions, but he was very touched, and it took him until he got to the dugout to doff his cap.
I can't say anything bad about New York. The people have been great to me here, and I just hope that I can be a part or do something to win one more game, and we can look back at a wonderful season.
But any momentum the Yankees had was lost on the long flight back to Arizona, where the Diamondbacks simply dominated.
Game 6 belongs to Arizona, forcing Game 7 tomorrow night.
It was time for the ultimate test. 1 game stood between the Yankees and their 4th consecutive title, and with the score tied in the 8th, it looked like they might get it. The sight of Soriano rounding the bases looked to be the coronating moment of the Yankees' 4th straight title. But Arizona would flip the script and stun the reigning world champs. As the Yankees look to the future, they continue to put the right pieces of the puzzle in place.
Playing for the New York Yankees, I dreamed about that as a kid, and it's every bit that it's cracked up to be when you put on those pinstripes.
Jason Giambi hits a walk-off grand slam.
And the Yankees will span the globe to find the very best.
A grand slam for Hideki Matsui.
It truly is a team effort, from the stars on the rise to the established ones who shine brighter every day.
We rely on 25 men. It's not one guy to carry the load.
Tradition and pride and excellence, and that's what we're all about.
When you put on the Yankee pinstripes, something definitely different happens to you. You do get a shot of pride when that happens.
It seems like every year that there's a fairy tale ending to our season and stuff magical happens.
Magic more than evident throughout their long winning tradition. A tradition made possible by an unmatched legacy of heroes and perhaps the greatest franchise of all time.
We're winners. It's just an unbelievable feeling to be able to say that you play for a winning organization.
The New York Yankees, most successful franchise of the century.
It's a title the Yankees do not take lightly, a tribute to an unwavering focus and a quest for success.
Team of the century. There's no other team in any other sport that can say that.
Not the Montreal Canadiens, not the Boston Celtics. For in this case, the numbers and images truly do speak for themselves.
The New York Yankees, professional sports' most storied, gloried franchise. Oh man, it doesn't get better than this.